Hi, and welcome to Post-Burnout.com interviews. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. My name is Aaron Kavanagh, and I'm the website's founder and editor-in-chief. This is our website's podcast where we interview people from various artistic disciplines. These episodes are sometimes full-length interviews from our site's articles, and other times exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back, and if you're new here, thanks for checking us out. We hope you'll like it and stick around with us. In this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, we talk with Paul Dillon of the Irish gothic post-punk band pMad. Paul talks about forming pMad during the pandemic, their new album I Am Power, their latest single Opinion, growing up as an alternative music fan in 80s Galway, his views on the modern music industry, and much, much more.
Now we should be fine, I think. How are you, Aaron?
How you going, Paul? Thanks very much for doing this.
Hi, thanks for talking to me this hour of the morning for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The first thing I was going to ask quite simply just off the bat is kind of like, for yourself, how did you kind of get into music and what was kind of your earliest kind of memories of music, I guess?
I'm a music fan first and foremost, so there'd be no pMad without music. So I suppose back we used to have those big long record players in the house, and the parents would have Big Tom and Val Doonican and all that sort of stuff. Jesus. But lucky enough, there was Buddy Holly and there was the Carpenters and there was vinyls. So
yeah,
playing them and you were listening to them. Then you got a little bit older and you went to the cousin's house and they had the sleeveless denim jackets and Status Quo or AC/DC, and you were listening to that and thinking it was cool. And then the cousin left a cassette of Genesis behind, and I listened to that, and I got myself a tape recorder. So I went out and actually bought Howard Jones' Human Lib was my first. I got into spiky hair and all that sort of stuff. And then after that, a cousin comes home from the Gaeltacht after kissing a girl, first time a country that ever did it, So he comes home with, there's a light that never goes out. So from the Smiths, and then moved on to the Cure, and then sure you get down rabbit holes, and now you end up where you are. It's crazy.
Yeah, actually, because like I was wondering, like when it kind of came to then playing music yourself, I mean, what would you have been, and kind of like what was your sort of first instrument, I guess?
I thought it was bass. I always sort of go back to the bass. I'm no good as
Yeah, I
any of
love
them.
bass too. Yeah,
I'm no good as any of them, but bass. I just love a bass line. Joy Division, Peter Hook is just
yeah,
legendary, and then all that were ever in Sisters of Mercy and things like that. So I just good bass lines. So I started that, and then of course the best to me, one of the best is a Forest, The Cure.
yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
our first song.
Oh, really?
Get that off. Five of us in a room playing rubbish and beating the heads of each other mostly.
Yeah, did you find like-minded people who were into the kind of like post-punk and goth at the time, or?
No, I'd say there was no. It was like how was it? Little Britain. I was the only goth in the village. I'm sorry, spiky hair, yes, and my father telling me I was a teddy boy and I didn't know what it was. So we were going around. There wasn't too many. I remember someone coming home from a nightclub and I was after winning tickets for Michael Jackson. I was after giving them away to a girl for the concert in Cork. And this group of gang of lads just came around me. And there was me with Doc Martens and long black coats, white black hair. And they just, you like the Cure, do you? Well, men are telling us, and I'm in for a kick in here now. Jeez. So actually, one of the guys said, actually, Cure isn't too bad, And I just, good man, and I legged it down the street as quick as I could. I was fit then. I wouldn't do it now, but yes. So they only got in the village, and probably still am.
Yeah, because like obviously, sort of like now, I mean, like Galway is such like a kind of very refined kind of I think kind of like music scene, which includes I think kind of alternative music and just various kinds of music, like pretty much everything is represented. Was that your case growing up, or?
Well, I'm actually Portumna, so I'm
Sure.
not a long way from Tipperary. But Galway would have been, we've got to Leisureland and seen the Smiths and seen Howard Jones and Dinosaur Jr. and Jesus,
Okay.
that's the width of that. So it would have gone Whipping Boy and all the great Irish bands. And then there would have been the music scene back in the day was about an hour away from Tullamore, Thurles, Nina, Galway, of course, and different places. But you had the Irish bands were out around the place, Light a Big Fire, a House, the Franklin Walters, and all the bands, the eras were out, and you could go meet them and shake hands with them and talk.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm a groupie, so yeah. But Galway City is eclectic to the all ends. It's brilliant. Yeah. So you have new Dad there now, fantastic. Sure, look, there's so many great bands in Galway. It's unreal.
Yeah.
No,
It's
whether I am
definitely.
included in any of that, I don't know. But anyway,
So then, when it came to doing pMad, I mean, like, what was kind of like, because it's actually quite a recent project. It started in 2021, if I'm correct. So, like, I was wondering what the kind of like the reason for starting this project was. Then,
actually, COVID had an awful lot to answer for, and the world
yeah,
was destructed and destroyed probably, and it gave us pMad as well. So there's an awful lot to answer for. You'd have no pMad without COVID. Like we're running around killing ourselves and waiting to die, being slaves to jobs and all the other different things. So COVID I found brilliant because I have a beautiful 5 kilometers here or 2 kilometers at once. It's great.
yeah,
And then spring clean, what else do? You clean up the house, clean up the offices, and next thing you find nearly everything I ever played, really, I would have recorded, just
yeah,
sticking on the tape recorder, cassettes or CDs, you'd be recording. And you go back and you find that, and then you say, "Jeez, I'll stick it in there for the crack now and see what's that." Hey, not too bad, right? It didn't go on for long. It was only about 3 or 4 bars, but it was good when it was good.
yeah.
And now I'm a bit better. And so I put the jigsaw together, and next thing I don't know. The technology is brilliant, like the dolls and the rest of it. So fire in this stuff and then recorded some new stuff. I said, "Well, no, that's not bad." And sent it out to there was a producer in Germany, Dominic, Portumna Studios, and he's absolutely brilliant. And I just contacted him and I said, "Can what do you see that? See that and that? Yeah." And he said, "Oh, no, we can do something with that, yeah."
Yeah.
And we did. And that's where we came up with all pMad, yeah.
Like, when it kind of came to sort of music, I mean, like, actually, I think like the press release kind of mentioned for fans of New Order, the Joy Division, The Cure, Ramsey, and Killing Joke, and I think those are very. That's probably one of the best for fans of I've heard. Like, it's very succinct, I think.
But
I would also add,
yeah. If you, but then you go in and you say, "Jesus, there's a bit of trash metal in there, there's a bit of bad rap, there's a bit of this, there's a bit of that." So how do you bring it down? Um, you know, it's sort of, I don't know. It's just what other people have said about it. Because for me,
yeah,
it's pMad.
yeah,
But people say, "Oh, get a bit of New Order out of that. I get a bit of Depeche Mode out of that. There's a bit of
yeah.
Rancid and Fury. There's a bit of this, that, and the other." And
You're just kind of like taking notes.
yeah, yeah. Oh well, yeah. Please write it down for me, please. And especially the good stuff. And yes, so we end up. If that's what people are hearing, it doesn't. I don't know what it influences me, of course, but I don't know what I hear. What I hear, and other people. And when you hear us sing a song, and I hate comparing. Oh, there's a bit of Pixies in that, and there's a bit of this,
Yeah,
that, the other. And it's not. We're not reinventing the wheel. It is what it is. And
yeah,
if people like it, they like it. And I'm not genres and things like that. Jesus, there used to be rock, there used to be pop, and then there was country, and that was about it really. Now there's metal. Metal was like what was rock music or metal music back in the day is only soft pop rock now. You go down to some of the shows I'm on, and it's hardcore, deathcore, metalcore,
yeah.
and all these different things.
We're a
So
long way since Black Sabbath.
it has a long way. There's only softies now, yeah. So look at people hear what they hear. I just put that out because they're well-known bands. Hopefully, I might suck someone in with a hashtag that they put in or hashtag New Order. What's that? Who comes up with that? And the pMad comes up and says, "People go, okay, you might get one more listen out of it."
Yeah. No, actually, that's an interesting point. Like, how do you find like now kind of being a musician in the modern day about that? Because like I've talked to like different artists, and it's kind of like I don't know, you can't just be a musician. Like, everyone has to do like wear a bunch of different hats. You know what I mean? It's like people have to be social media managers. People have to kind of learn SEO and learn kind of social media management and promotion and kind of do PR. How do you find like all that aspects? Do you find that distracts from music, or do you find it's just kind of a necessary evil to kind of get yourself out there?
Yeah, I don't know that anyone not. It's just back in the day, it was lick a few posters and stick them up on a wall and say, "Here's our new single out," and hope that they fancy it or something like that. And you play gigs and stuff. It's bad one way, but it's absolutely brilliant. if I was waiting, it's like everything. If you're waiting on, if you'll never be a star in your own town, is what I was told. So I'm not worried when Galway Bay FM or Kerry FM email me back and say, we're not going to play it. Stop sending the music. As not played on Kerry FM. That's it. We count the ground. No problem.
Yeah.
But then you get played in Canada or Mexico, Argentina, Japan. Oh, yeah, absolutely brilliant. So you could never dream of that before. So I can't think, people, look, I'm not against the I don't know what Z I am or generation I am or whatever. It's hard work, like,
No.
it's self promotion, and if you don't self promote, even those that can afford the record companies are self promoting in some way.
Yeah,
it's not. The way I get it is, it's self promoting. You're not promoting anyone else. You're not doing that. It's for you. If you don't do it, fine. Do it. Don't do it. It doesn't matter. It's for yourself. And I'd be honest, I have no ego, and I don't really care where it went and who played it or what. But then there's there's a competitive edge to everyone. And it's like, Jesus, I got it here. Why shouldn't I get it there? Why shouldn't I get it there? So that's what keeps you going, And then the promotion, and it's great. It's hard work. The music is the easy part, really. Greatness and getting it out there and getting it played, and you'd like to hear it played. But it's hard to get above the noise because there is a lot of noise. A lot of good stuff being still made, But it's, and then I seen with Gillaband, and how do you distinguish yourself from all the other post-punk things that are out there? It's hard.
Yeah.
But there's not too many like me now at the end of it, So we have a band, The Greeting, and it's fabulous stuff, and it's a bit more grungy, but it's going to be an awful lot harder to break into that scene because there's thousands of bands out of it. As someone said, pMad is a niche within a niche, within a niche, within a niche. You can go further if you want to. So it's self-promotion. So you promote, and you always did it.
Yeah.
It's just, and you have way more avenues. What feels harder is that you have Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and all the other different ways of doing it. It just feels like there's a lot to keep up with. And that's the hard part, keeping up.
Actually, this is a question that I thought of as you were kind of answering that. I mean, like when you kind of look back at the sort of the way it used to be kind of, I guess, in the more kind of analog approach of self-promotion, it was, as you were mentioning, kind of putting posters, there was fanzines and things like this. And do you find like that kind of like background and kind of having that kind of experience actually translates to what's being done now? Because it's kind of a weird thing where like DIY is kind of now a Twitter post, or it is putting your stuff on YouTube or something like that,
Oh yeah, I remember Howard Jones, the Cure, New Order newsletters in the post. I'm waiting for them and paying sending off a postal order for €5 or £5 whatever, and getting it for the year. Jesus, you're £25 and that was all your communion money gone trying to get in with them. But you were waiting for them, you loved it. And like I said, you have so many different ways of doing the same thing now, and you better. It's just that you probably don't have that hard copy that you'd love to. That's what the few magazines have been in, or whatever it is, hard copies. I bought them, you get them anywhere, or you buy them, just to have that for the future, Because I still have a lot of New Order I have a letter from Peter Hook, and anyway, this is such dream stuff. But yeah, so promoting, however you do it, you're going to have to meet the people, and you'll find probably as well off Twitter has gone to hell. I don't see the interaction on Twitter is terrible at the minute. Whatever. You used to get 100 likes, now you get 8 or something like that in views.
Yeah.
So you probably as well, and not less people on. So you have to pick your spots and things like that, Then look at you on TikTok, and they tell you, oh, are you stuck in the 300 view rot of TikTok views because you get someone getting 1 million or whatever? But that's 300 people that have seen a post belonging to you. Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah. It's an interesting perspective if you think of like playing to a room of 300 people. It's not trivial.
Yeah. Where would you get? If you sell a lot of tickets to get out, and most people, if you were supporting third or fourth on the support bill or whatever it is, there wouldn't be the 300 there.
Yeah.
They're not even, one or two are listening to you trying to go home and tell someone, Jesus, you should have heard your man, There's always the passion, or the what is it? I suppose not the passion, but being able to find out music before someone else, and say,
Yeah.
I heard it before. Yeah.
Kind of hipster
Yeah,
tendency. Well, actually, I think like there's the other aspect too is that there is so much like kind of attention. Sorry, just so much material kind of vying for attention. It can kind of often feel like I don't know, swimming upstream or something. It can feel very I think kind of like difficult in terms of just like actually making a presence. I still think, and I'd like to get your perspective on this. I was talking to someone yesterday, and who kind of like comes from sort of more the digital world, and we both kind of agreed that like a lot of times live performance is the best way, I think, to make a connection with um other acts. If you can get in front of people, it feels like more personal or something like that. Like obviously you can listen to music and have an appreciation for it, but if you go and you discover someone through a live setting, it almost feels like, you know, more personal or more kind of like an experience in a way. I don't know if you feel that that way is still the best way.
yeah. Look, any way you can get to people, and the more personal you can be, because the wedding present. I love the wedding present, and I think Dave Gedge is probably the hardest working man in rock or
Yeah.
whatever indie. That he's there before the show. He'll shake your hand. He's out selling the merch. He's out after the show. He'll shake your hands. He'll sign the vinyl. He's sick to the teeth of me hugging him once a year. I've got one picture and pin. I can able to tell what year it is, by what size I am, and that sort of thing, So you are, and that's where pMad is up against it, because it will happen when you don't anything much live or anything. So, but to do that, to go out and I'm at the age now that to go out and try and hard sell 50 people and things like that, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, So I'm going to try and head up. I've been onto the Pesh Mode and the Sisters of Mercy. If you're short of selling a few tickets for Galway, Limerick, or Dublin, or whatever, I'll help you along with the last hard 50 sell.
Like I'll do it, yeah.
Give me, I'll bring them in. I'll come out and throw in the gear, So, of course, live is brilliant. And then every time I go see the Pixies, I love the Pixies. Love them. Mm-hmm. But I much prefer to listen to them than I do see them live. It's just, I don't know what it is. It just seems to I love them, but it just seems to churn out on as if, the old artists or whatever used to be when they be in Dublin and say, it's wonderful to be in England. And they don't even know where they are,
It's great to be in the UK.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen that happen live, where an artist will say, I won't name names, but an artist will say, "Oh, it's great to be in the UK" or something like that, and like you just see the audience turn. And just I remember like one artist in particular, just like she looked like she was so confused. I was like, oh no.
And no matter how non-Irish you feel, you become Irish immediately then.
Yeah. Just having like, because I was at the Olympian, just having like that full room, just kind of twirling. It's like, oof.
We've lost us already there. We're going grand up. So, but yeah, look, there's nothing like personal. And what I'm trying to do is, and I love doing it, is chatting like to yourself and others and bits and pieces and making personal contact. So actually emailing, because it's a bit of the radio show as well, and people will email you the song and then expect you to play it or not play it or whatever it is. But you never hear another word from them again. I like to share it, thank them, and do the bits and pieces, and you build a relationship with people. It's old school, like done. There's millions. Is it 9,000 songs a week or something or more?
I would believe it.
Spotify, something like that.
Yeah.
So why should they pick you above anyone else? Because maybe you're better, maybe you're the best, maybe you're the next whoever you are. I don't know, whatever is big now. Maybe you are. But if you're not a nice guy and you're not doing the bits and pieces, why should they bother with you? So.
Yeah. Well, it used to be kind of, I think, a lot more centralized, where it was like, before you could sort of like, if you got on a TV station or if you got on the radio, a lot of people were going to hear it. But now, obviously, everyone's kind of fragmented, and everyone's kind of like listening to their own thing in their own time. And I think it's difficult to have that kind of like, I know, one place where everyone's going to hear it. You know what I mean? I don't know if that exists anymore, really. Unless the Super Bowl, maybe.
Maybe we'll let you get 100 million, but do you want that 100 million? Will they listen to you? I'd always say, go back to the Arctic Monkeys, and you were talking about live, like before they ever, and I think they're brilliant, they're great. But before they ever, you'd say, how did they become number one overnight, nearly as good as independent, like? But they played Sheffield 1,000 times and had their show down to a T before they ever released one song.
Yeah.
But they had a full catalogue of songs then to go bang, 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 and then they've suddenly become one of the biggest bands in the world, you know. And it's not
Yeah.
by fluke; it's by hard work and having a plan themselves, you know, and good tunes, good tunes. But, you know.
I think that's really annoying if you're like putting all the effort in. Then it's like, oh, you're an overnight success. It's not. It's just like you're only paying attention now.
Yes, 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 yes. But you know, I suppose you build your plan and you go by it, and there's probably well, there is another 100,000 Arctic monkeys that never met it, and it's
Yeah.
sad to see bands go by the wayside and things. But as you said, what makes a living? Like to make a living as an artist now is, you know, you need to be working your job first, and then
Yeah.
suffering on after that. And it clicks, and it does, it doesn't. You wouldn't want to be. You'd be fairly thin if you'd be relying on music
Yeah.
income.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting you mentioned that you kind of came from COVID, because I found that COVID was kind of a weird transitional period where we lost a lot of like bands and a lot of acts who couldn't make it work. But in that kind of period, we also got like a new, almost like a phoenix rising or something. We got this new slew of acts and artists who I think COVID kind of kicked their arse a little bit and kind of made them start, releasing music or getting music out or kind of considering music as a thing. It was a very weird. I think it's a very weird thing. I was wondering, do you think like I don't know, like what effect do you think COVID kind of had on the creative process and kind of getting music or new music or new artists? I guess.
Yeah, well, like that. It made people decide what are you going to do, you know, and maybe we all stopped and think and give out about it, or some people went, you know. So people said, right, we've gone this far. Take it. That's it.
Yeah.
Let it leave it. We'll just go on. But then you had lots of guys come off and splinter groups, you know, the Judean people front and all the other, the popular front and all the rest of it. They went off and created other bands and stuff. So, and then you had the new artists at a time, and then you the other people like myself who just, all right, now it's the time, you know, just, you know, try it. Why not? When are you ever
Yeah.
going to get the chance again?
Yeah.
So here we are. COVID, it should have affected, if you didn't use it to your advantage, it was a pity, because
Yeah.
you might get ever a chance like that again to reflect on yourself, you know, whether it be music, work, or whatever it is, you know, why be slave to it? The grave is coming one way or the other. You know, rushing to it, and you might as well enjoy your way getting there.
Yeah. So actually, when it came from starting the project in 2021 to actually kind of releasing your first album in 2022, I mean, what was that kind of like period in between like?
Usher was amazing, amazing. Sure, from November, put out the song, and you'd say, put out "Who Am I," and the wife says, "Get your tick neck on now, because they're going to, or you're going to get ripped." Now, fair play. And the other says, "If you've nothing good to say nothing." And people
Yeah.
didn't. Whoever didn't like it just stayed away from it. That's great.
Yeah.
And whoever did like it was Paul Travis, A1 Records, was absolutely brilliant, and it got, and you know, success breeds success, and sometimes you have the minority that are always trying to find something new, so they're going to
Hmm.
move on from you anyway, and then, but you have the people that are finding you, who am I now, 3 years
Yeah.
later, because they were only becoming your like now, you know, they're only liking you now, and
Sure.
I've never heard of you, I never heard it. So it's a rolling stone. You build and you build and you build, and the idea of the singles, nearly all the singles were out by the time of the album. It was, the plan in my head was, the album is, I love an album. I love an
Yeah.
album. But it's dead. It's dead. It's gone really. You know?
Yeah.
The hardcore, the attention span is just click, click, follow on, next song. You're lucky if you get 30 seconds. I'd be looking at your average listens, you know, and you might have
Yeah.
16,000. I'm fierce lucky to have maybe 16,000 Spotify plays, but you have maybe 800 people have listened to it more than 3 times,
Yeah.
and the rest of the people have listened to it 50 seconds, or, you know.
Oh well. Yeah.
So you're better off with 300 people listening to it three times and 5 times, because they're more likely to listen to it than you are the other one. So the idea was that album, single, 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 because that's the attention span, and every time you get to know, the album came out then, and people, the one or two fans were saying, that I do have, were saying, "Jay, sure, I've heard all the stuff, like I've heard it
Yeah.
all before, you know." So there's nothing really new in the album, you know. So
Yeah.
I went the opposite way this time then with I Empower, and sort of released it, the album. If you wanted to buy it, you could immediately.
Yeah.
but the album wouldn't go out anywhere in the streaming until all the songs are released. So
it's coming out in April, right?
sorry.
It's coming out in April on streaming. It's already on
No,
Bandcamp.
It's out the whole time, but generally the whole album will be out around April. If you want to buy it,
it's out now on Bandcamp.
It's out now on CD and things like that. Yeah.
So CD as well, right?
Yeah. It's a January 24 official release, but it'll probably be out April, May, or whatever it is on the streaming.
And it came out the same day as the Opinion single, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, so you can buy it, hear it, and people are saying, and then the few fans, then you can't keep these people out. And they're saying, I sure know I've heard them all now. I've nothing new for another 6 months. You can't win. So the EP seems to be the best one of the whole lot at the minute, that you get a couple of songs and then you throw out the EP again. And the whole thing is, like I was saying there, is about catching people. Those that like me at the start, right, they're there and they're in and out and they're coming and going. But those that come in now have a lot of repertoire to go back and listen to. And you hear people saying, gee, I get more comments on Medicine, which would have been the second single now. Yeah. That's that. Look, is it 2 years later than I did originally, So people are finding it now. And that's maybe it'll be a classic tune in time, I don't know. But yeah, you catch people and look at, hey, anytime anybody listens, any play, any chat, everything is good. Everything is success.
Yeah, I think there is like a new approach, and I have two things to go on based on what you said. So the first one is kind of like people's attention span. And I was wondering about this because like there used to be the kind of rule in radio that the hook had to be within like 30 seconds or something like that. The idea was basically just get to the chorus, get the hook as soon as possible to attract radio listeners. And I wonder now if that like time is shrinking, where it's like now it has to be like 5-10 seconds, if it's going to be like that rapid. And I wonder if that like if kind of platforms like TikTok or even like YouTube Shorts or any of these kind of like condensed sort of music platforms, I wonder if they're going to dictate what pop music is going to sound like going forward.
Oh yeah, they're pop music. Yeah. Popular music. Yeah,
I do specify that.
Yeah, that's what it's going to. That is, and I'd even say 3-4 seconds.
Yeah,
you don't have to be the words or the chorus, but it just has to be what they're all doing. There's nearly a formula. I think you'll see a lot of YouTube videos on how to write this song or whatever it is, there is a formula to it all. And I'm sure whoever the formula songwriters at the moment or Katie Taylor, I was going to call her
Katie Taylor. Katy Perry.
But that's sort of, if Katie Taylor come out with a tune, I'm sure it would burn. But
it has a lot of hooks.
There is a formula. Buy it now. Yeah. There is a formula, and they'll do it in bits and pieces. And no more than pMad has a formula. I suppose I don't have one in my own head, but there is, because that's how I love the Sisters of Mercy. I love Dead Dead. And this is how it's influencing, So underlying, under subconsciously, there's a formula that I don't know, but I'm not a mathematician. But yeah, they have, for popular music, the attention span, and no more than when you go down to TikTok or Instagram, they're telling you that these are the popular songs at the minute. If you want to add a sound, you're not getting pMad anywhere near these. These are the whatever. I don't even look at them because I'm looking for pMad anyway. So there is that, and if you don't click them with that immediately, or else you're falling tits up somewhere in a window, or you have a pussycat that's doing something funny or cute. I'm often wondering, that's what I should be just putting my pMad music to, just rubbing a cat.
Yeah. It's not a bad strategy. I actually think that's the kind of freedom you get with kind of like the sort of modern advertising in ways that you can just kind of like throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks, you know what I mean? So it's like, why not try it?
And even when you're doing your Facebook ads or whatever it is, they have 6 and 1 or whatever it is, or A versus B and things like that, and you do your ads. And you can spend £1 or £3, but you'll see, is it me stroking a cat? It's a lot better than me playing the guitar. You'll find probably the stroking the cat will get you a lot more views than the other one, So,
Actually, they're quite affordable too, because I've used those kind of like advertising platforms. Actually, like not too bad, in terms of the reach you get for the price you pay. I think. The other thing I wanted to go back off what you were saying was you were kind of mentioning the sort of like the albums kind of dying, but one thing I would counter to that is we are seeing like a huge rise in popularity of vinyl, and a lot of people seem to love vinyl. Oh
Kevin,
yeah, the interview definitely.
just came in the post there yesterday, and I'm waiting on Stall the Ball, and huge in the vinyl, but it was the big
Yeah,
long wait is the biggest thing. COVID killed
yeah,
that because everyone brought out a fucking vinyl record to screw people,
yeah.
and all the other bits and pieces. But yeah, the poor independent is a huge investment.
Mhm.
Of course, like everything else, the more you buy them, the more the cheaper it is, and you can sell them off. But there's no, it's just 25, 30 quid now to buy a vinyl, which is
Yeah,
fine. I don't buy enough of them to break me or anything like that.
sure.
But it's a lot. You couldn't do it every week like you could do it, download a song or a CD or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, the vinyl is great. I love it. I go up upstairs. The young lad would be playing games, and I'd be messing around listening to the vinyl and telling them what. You're not even listening, but I was like, yeah, you know who that is? That's there, Blue in Heaven. Oh, listen to this song. So
Is that your preferred way of listening
educate,
to
and
music?
hopefully it'll seep into him that he's listening to good music over
Through
time.
osmosis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, look at if it's a way of doing it, because I was looking into it for the third album, Untitled,
Mhm.
to see what is the best. But you'd want to be ordering now for
Yeah,
2025, really, the end of
yeah,
2025. You will get it, but you'll pay. So I was, it's 15. Yeah, you'd be doing well to have one in your hand for 15 quid a piece, a
yeah.
nice finish on it, and then try and sell it for 25. And will you sell many of them? And but if nothing else, it's for me grandchildren. It's me
It's
great
for
great great
prosperity.
grandchildren that come back from someplace in the world, and there's a final there, and say, hey, that's where it all started.
But this the resurgence of vinyl in terms of like its popularity with kind of like younger people too. Does that give you kind of hope for the kind of prosperity of sorry, the album as an art form, and kind of people wanting kind of like longer formed music?
But who wants it? The people that will, you're dealing with. I'd say if you split down the amount of what age category are you talking of people that actually go out and buy? And
Yeah,
I see lots of vinyls and golden discs and things like that. But an awful them are so retro, like Nirvana, Nevermind, and all the other bits and pieces. And the world won't listen to Smiths and stuff. And there's only so many people. How much is actually new stuff? Lucky to
yeah,
get
that's a
Death
good point. Yeah,
Metal and Big Boy Foolish on the way, and went out. And a lot of it is I went back, both Whipping Boy and Heartworm. You go back and buy the stuff that you should have bought when you could have afforded it back in the day.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but who is buying it? I wonder. Is there enough people buying it to? Uh, yeah, look at it. It gives hope to the vinyl that hopefully the 25-year-old becomes a 35-year-old with money and wants an album, and
Yeah.
there'll always be 35-year-olds in it, but they want it. You see, you're still looking at the 25-year-old now who is now 35 and buying an album. He's just at the start. Technology is wait for the next 25-year-olds in 10 years, 15 years time. What will they want?
Yeah,
Like it's
it's a good
only
point.
really what Facebook. I couldn't believe it. 20 years old, like
Yeah, yeah,
so.
2004. Yeah,
That's nothing. Like
yeah,
in going back to the Cure of Forest in 1970, 1978,
yeah,
79. So you're talking 40 years or more.
yeah.
So what are these people going to be like in 10 years' time? The tech crowd, my kids are 10, 11, and 9. And what are they going to be like in 10 years' time? You should hear what they're listening to. Lord, they wouldn't listen to two songs from the same artist in a row ever.
Uh,
I know they're going to keep moving and doing things like that. But yeah, you'd be listening to them. But their taste in music is way better than mine would have been at their age. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great though too that like one thing that I think benefits kind of the youth today, and Because I kind of like I'm 30, so I was kind of like at the kind of tail end
Yeah.
of like the CD era. Like I was still buying CDs up until my teen years, and but I was kind of like in the download era too, but it was way more kind of nascent than it is now. It wasn't as well defined. Like iTunes was a big thing when I was growing up, and I personally I always preferred the kind of tangible like CD collection. Then obviously got into vinyl later in life. I do think there is something I don't know, kind of ephemeral about a digital collection where it's kind of like it could just cease to be,
Yeah.
where I kind of feel like when you have like the CDs, you have like the vinyl. I don't know, it's almost like a point of pride. It's almost like, yes, I collected these, like this is sort of my identity.
Well, it'll determine you in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go back and say, right, oh Jesus, I was going through that phase. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
leg
exactly.
warmers back in the day or whatever you were into. Jesus, I had a soft spot for them. And I no fear of saying, like lads are laughing at me, Howard Jones, but Howard Jones was cool as fuck in the day. Like
Yeah.
Human Labor is probably still one of the best albums. Absolutely brilliant. And what he did and the drums and the show and the whole lot was absolutely brilliant. But it determined, it brought you to the next thing. It brought you to the next thing. It brought you on to the next thing, whether good, bad, or indifferent. And none of them are too cool for school. Like, you know, there's some good-looking woman around the world saying, "I kissed him." Oh, jeez. It's like that. She's going, "Oh no, I really started thinking." But it brings you on. You appreciate. You don't appreciate the east till you go to the west, and then
Sure.
it's all about. So, um, but yeah, the tangible is brilliant. Jeez, if you can see all that what's behind here, and I keep
Yeah.
changing for a different issue. I didn't have it up here today, but CDs, and I love buying them, and I'm ashamed some of them I don't even have the plastic off because I would have. You get the download from
Yeah.
Bandcamp as well. So,
Yeah.
um, but you can always go and say when, as you say, when it disappears, the digital thing disappears, and it does because the hard drive breaks. You change computer or something,
Exactly. Yeah.
and I've lost more stuff than that. Which end up buying, I think it is Blink's, one of Blink's albums or whatever it is. I can't, whatever it is, I keep forgetting. I've four of them. I keep
Yeah.
forgetting, I keep forgetting that I haven't bought.
Yeah.
Every time it comes up, oh, it's only a fiver. Jesus, that's worth getting. And then
But you
what I
know,
love is back in the day, these Fitzpatrick, Jesus, what's his first name? But the designs of vinyl,
mm,
they were like artwork. They were
yeah,
like Tin Lizzies and Jesus, Horselips and all those. The
yeah,
amount of work that went into the beauty of and actually seeing a vinyl. Because I remember I wouldn't have found Dead only for Andy Dogg's artwork on these albums and seeing Infected and Soul Mining and Honey for Despair and all the bits and pieces. I wouldn't have bought it only for the artwork. Of course, you get sucked into the next one then, and the next one.
yeah.
Good. But it is an attraction. It's like a beauty.
Yeah. I also used to like this is such a weird thing, but I used to like the lyric sheets and the kind of just reading all the stuff
Yeah,
like that. Like the lyrics themselves, like obviously, but like even just like who they thank, who's like reference, it was always like weird. And like there was so much art and kind of craft that went into that. I think one thing that's probably a bit more beneficial, as you mentioned about your sons, like do you find that they have the opportunity now because they basically have the history of like recorded music at their fingertips? And do you find that they have the potential at least to have like a much more versatile music taste than anyone else has, and kind of have um basically as much of a history because like it's not only the music itself, but now they have like access to like Wikipedia or something like that where they could get all the information they want on any artist like pretty much ever. Do you find that I don't know, like I think that's like one really big benefit of the youth today is that they like I think kind of even when I was growing up, like music was quite kind of fragmented into like, oh, you listen to this, you hang out with these type of people, so on. And I don't think that persists anymore. Like when you go to like local shows, you see like a lineup of just like very different artists, and it's like it's not weird, you know.
yeah. Well, if you were going to a metal show, you wouldn't be expecting to hear, a solo songwriter on the guitar, and then the next.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But that's the fluidity of it all, and it's great, and it's music, and introducing people to it.
yeah,
Even though it was Echo and the Bunnymen, I think, in Arcade Fire, they would have been slightly different back in the
yeah,
day. You wouldn't have. But yeah, so look at every anyone they introduced you to new music is brilliant. And that was
Yeah.
always you had to work so hard to find this music. It
Yeah.
wasn't easy. You'd go in and you'd pick it up and you take an odd chance on a discounted CD, and they were often the best ones, of course, because you say, oh yeah. And then I like that to find music, you had to go down to who produced that, who are they paying, yeah, and then all the other bits and pieces, you read down through it and say, right, okay, now I go to that producer, Stephen Hannes or whoever it is, and I go on
Yeah.
and next thing find more great music. Where now he just scroll, yeah, fans that like this, like that, and
Yeah.
on you go, and then next thing you're down a rabbit hole of no, they're not as good as the other ones, but you're still going down to the rabbit hole and finding new stuff. So, yeah, they're lucky as hell. Yeah, this generation, but sure, hopefully we'll leave in a better musical landscape for them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, music didn't stop in the 80s, and every generation, I'll be saying maybe the late 70s, 80s was my favorite period of music. I started in the early 2000s. I disappeared out of this singer songwriter and the guitar whinging about the girl that lost or it just lost me. But then I go back now and I said, geez, there's a couple of great bands there,
Yeah.
So the next, I don't know what the generation now will be looking at and saying, God, the 2000s were the best.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were 90s, maybe late 90s.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny because I was kind of relating to that. Cause like I would have grew up I was born in '94, so I kind of like really grew up in the
Or mid
2000s.
2000s then you did,
Yeah, but it's funny because like the radio at the time I thought was playing like dire stuff, and then it's kind of like you were saying, you kind of like rediscover stuff, and you're like, oh my God, why wasn't this on the radio? This is way better. And stuff that was around at the time. I mean,
It's not to
and
listen to radio is the biggest problem. Don't
yeah,
listen to the
exactly.
radio. Yeah.
But that was like the kind of point I was making earlier was like, everything was centralized on the radio and stuff like that. And now that I think like people have more kind of avenues to kind of get stuff out, I don't think it's going to have the kind of stranglehold on what people,
But that's not long ago.
Yeah.
In your generation, you're talking about, the end of the CD and the radio and the rest. But that's only 10, 12, 15,
I
14 years
know.
ago. So it's time is just, it's like,
I know it's like that. It's
beam
like
me up,
really
Scotty.
rapid.
It's
Yeah.
what's going to happen next year and what's going to happen after that. TikTok are only, what's the next big thing, and where are they going to get their music? So it's nearly to be ahead of all of that, and say, but no matter what way it goes, Cure, the Smiths, Chapman, whoever were big at the time, Dinosaur, great music is great music and it'll
Yeah.
always be great. And somebody of this ilk or next generation will find that great as well. And, you feed down through the rabbit hole, hopefully to find pMad down at the very bottom of it, whatever. But yeah, it's hard to know. You couldn't predict 10 years ago what was going to happen today, and you'll be a lot more finger on the pulse from 20 to 30, like.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like I think that is just like the kind of takeaway point, as you mentioned, this like the music persists, whether it's through vinyl to cassette to CD to digital and so on. I mean, and it's interesting too, like the resurgence of kind of older kind of tangible media, as we were mentioning, kind of like we're talking about the boom of vinyl, but I'm also seeing resurgence in CDs and in cassettes. Like I've been to a few gigs now where the merch stand has like cassette tapes. I'm like, okay, like it's interesting that like a lot of like mediums that seemed antiquated are now, and I wonder like if in like 20 years or something people will be like, oh, iPods are great, or if that's just like totally dead, as a medium.
I think the digital thing will. I don't think you can get any more digital than digital. I mean, that will improve from WAV MP3. The quality will get better because you will find from WAV to MP3 320s down to 128s. A shock. Jesus Christ. Putting it up in listening to a song on Spotify and actually hearing the WAV is completely different. It might as well be a different song.
Yeah.
A lot of the time the 128 is just so shocking. So hopefully the MP3 will get closer to the WAV file and things like that, and won't take up as much space and stuff like that. But I think a lot of the stuff with the cassette is more, and even the vinyl, is a hard copy, and I'm going to save that. And if I ever have to open shit, I'll have to buy a cassette player now. I think a lot of it is art and things. So as long as it sells, who cares? No more than a T-shirt. Every gig I ever went to, I bought a T-shirt or an album or whatever it is. I didn't have it already.
Yeah, I think that's actually because like everyone talks about now, like whether it is through vinyl or whether it is through things like Spotify or even Bandcamp, like it's very difficult to make your living as a musician just from music alone. And that's why I think like every kind of like artist who's like have like day jobs and have other things they have to go. I think like for successful artists, I think it is like completely in the live industry now, and you have to kind of be out there selling merch, selling tickets, and that's where you get your revenue from. It'd be nice, like I would love someday, and I don't know if it's possible, but if like just releasing music and going the green again, because I think about like this was something I wrote an article out. I don't know if it's been published yet, but uh I was thinking of like when Talking Heads they re-released Stop Making Sense, their film. And obviously Talking Heads have been retired I think since like 91. I think they came back once for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2002, but since then they've been kind of dormant. And that film did gangbusters. It did really well. It wasn't even released like wide. It was only released I think in English speaking countries when I was doing the research for it. And but you look at all the kind of like merch opportunities that came from that, ticket sales and so on. Obviously, like Talking Heads are such a big band that it's like you can't expect that for every act. But I wonder if like this is what my theory is, that I think concert films and re-releasing old concert films from say the 80s or the 90s, maybe if you think of like Prince's Purple Rain or whatever, I think I think that's going to be a means of revenue, cinematic re-releases of old concert films, maybe Nirvana, Reading 92, stuff like that. I think that's where revenue is going to come from, at least in a kind of short-term period, if the success of Talking Heads, if the success of Taylor Swift's concert film as well, if they can be replicated to any kind of degree, I think that that's going to be at least a short-term response from record labels, but I could be wrong.
No, you should look at, they will sell their soul, and like they'll sell dead men like they were alive. It's just,
Yeah, yeah.
they don't care. It's
Yeah,
not for the love of you or me or anyone else. I'd love to see an Orange again or Infected. That I have VHS of these things here,
yeah, yeah,
so, and I've copy them over into DVD. Great, yeah, but it's so much on YouTube already. You can sort of get it without it. The hardcore guys get. But the little guys, how would they make it? What I'd see the bigger problem for everyone is the venues. The smaller venues are dying and dying. In England,
yeah,
they're dropping like flies. But the 3,000 arena is filling no problem at all with the same old crap as every other 3,000 arena up the road in
yeah,
Birmingham, London, and all these things are filling. While the nice little 200 to 600 venue is dying.
yeah,
And the arenas can't expect, if they're not getting the experience in the 200 and 600 and 1,000 to go along and fill it, who are these people going to come out of it? We've gone through it there for a while with the rechurning of resurrecting dead bodies and AC/DC, Coldplay, and whoever is
yeah.
it. Not in love, brilliant legends, yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
Rolling Stones, the Beatles, dead men again alive, yeah. You
Yeah,
know, there's new music. Try and invest a few quid in a couple of fair play, Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift and all that. That's great. But find the next ones and find the next ones
yeah,
and find the next ones and bring them on and try and. But they're like footballers. Everybody wants to be a star footballer, but three make the Premier League and 20,000 go back to non-league football or give it up altogether. It's the same as music. It's unfortunate to break your soul, So it's in you for a while, and then it could be enough material to write tons of music after the heartbreak. But who are they selling it to, and who's making the money? Sure, it was never the lad at the bottom. It's nowhere the government and the rest of it. Yes, we're changing the law to do this, that, and the other, but it's not
yeah.
for our sake they're doing it.
Yeah, I also wonder sometimes because I've thought about like the regulatory side of it, and I was thinking about like because I can't remember the details now because it's been so long, but Ticketmaster, there was some legal dispute recently in the States with Ticketmaster about their pre-sales or something. I can't remember fully. I don't want to misspeak, but I sometimes wonder if because when COVID was happening, actually, I was still in college at the time. I was doing it for a college thing that I later reprinted on the website. But I was doing interviews with various people in like promoters and musicians and John from Tickets.ie and venue owners, and what kind of the consensus they were coming from, because it was about the response to the live music industry from the government, and they were saying, look, it's coming from a good place, but I think there's just a fundamental lack of understanding of our industry and how it works. I wonder, from a regulatory standpoint, if like there is enough of an understanding. Does Leo Varadkar know how Live Nation works?
Well, yeah. See, as long as you keep
I'm just
churning out
singling him out as a
the
joke, by the
facts,
way,
as long as you keep churning out the facts to them, they don't care, you know.
yeah,
It doesn't matter in the venues fill and they don't fill, and it's the small Roisin Dove and Galway now, or Monroe's or Dolan's
yeah.
down out in Limerick. They're
Mm-hmm.
taking the chance all the time to put on these and hope people are coming, you know. And fair play to them, they're putting on. I've been the fantastic, Just Mustard and New Dad and a few others
Yeah.
in Galway areas, and Therapy, and wonderful to get see them, Bob Villain and all the rest of them. It's wonderful to see them. No, as full as they should be, or they should be playing bigger venues.
Yeah, I think that too.
It's
Yeah.
a risk, and it's yeah, what it's the market deciding what's available,
Yeah.
and does it matter? Would government regulation what does it do? A couple of times now I had to get tickets for Ed Sheeran down in Thomond Park for the young lads, and we all went. And
Right.
you have to admire the show, like it was brilliant. People loved it. The hair stood up in the back of my neck.
Sure.
Yeah. But everyone else loved it, and I was smiling at everyone else enjoying themselves. It doesn't mean I have to.
Yeah.
But for people, I remember someone else wanted 2 tickets as well, and I lucky enough to get in and got them immediately. However it works out, I don't know. But 10 minutes, 9 o'clock, got in, bought them. 10 minutes past 9, they were all sold out, but they were available on Ticketmaster's resale.
Resale. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how the hell is that legal?
Yeah.
That I buy, why should Ticketmaster be selling it twice? And it was twice the price again then.
Yeah.
Like, you either sell it and then you stop, but they're making double the money. I don't know. What's the Ticketmaster resale site like? Is that more trusted than the? I don't know. Anyway, I don't get it.
We should go back to just buying tickets.
Yeah, but I'd rather go into Roisin Dove and buy it directly off them, or Dolan. So the absolutely, I think they're selling tickets. If I could buy nothing off Ticketmaster, but you can't. You Depeche Mode are on it, and you buy them, and you have no choice. If you want to go, you go, and that's it.
Yeah, I think about that too. Like people, it is kind of like that thing where it's like I think gigs are getting like prohibitively expensive, and it just like people just have to kind of accept it. It's like, well, do I want to see this act? Well, I have to. There's no alternative. Because I think about actually, because there's some artists some promoters who sell on Ticketmaster and say like tickets.ie or Eventbrite, and I always go for the non-Ticketmaster option if I can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And it's not nothing against Ticketmaster, but it's just I don't know. I don't understand. The ticket is sold. Why is it up on your resale site? It should be nothing to do. It should be done deal, or it should be some other Chancery's arm, like the scalpers. Is that not scalping of the biggest, highest regard ever? Like,
yeah. I mean, I think
anyway, but I think Coldplay were doing something about selling tickets at 70, 80 quid, and so much you go for 20 quid. Why should you get a 20 quid ticket when I'm getting 80 quid or whatever? Why not bring it all down to 50 quid or something like that?
Yeah.
500 tickets at 20 quid is going to save the world, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, actually, The Cure did, like you mentioned, The Cure, like they did their tour of like arenas, and they were like, let's keep it at 20,000. I saw The Cure when they were in Dublin, 2022, I guess, at the arena.
Yes, it was as well. Yeah. We took to Belfast.
But did you see their merch? Like everything was like cheap as chips. It was like really like nice to see. It's like, oh my god, like someone not ripping off their fan base.
And they can sell enough of it as well. Like everyone went.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, the queues were massive for the merch.
Yeah,
insane. Yeah. Actually, that's another thing too. Actually, we're talking about like how. Sorry, I keep going on tangents about the music industry, but I think another thing that's going to like screw people over. It's much bigger in the UK and the US than it is here, but it still happens here. But merch cuts in certain venues.
I've heard of them. Like, yeah. I can't. Jesus Christ, lads! What you're really milking it up? No, okay. You put on the concert. And you've done the bits and pieces, like. But hey, no, unless an artist doesn't want to be standing behind the table and selling his own.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If you were having to put a staff member there, like, but Dave Gage or anything like that, I couldn't imagine he had to. If he used to play a cut because he's selling his own merchandise, that'd be shocking. Yeah. But I'm sure it is happening.
I know, it's insane. I think that's going to screw a lot of like up and coming acts a lot, because a lot of the venues especially in the UK, like I was saying, that you were kind of mentioned the sort of like, say, the academy size venues in the UK are kind of like they're like doing it too, and I forget who it was, Sprints, if you know Sprints, they were
Yeah, of
doing a
course. Yeah.
tour. They were supporting Suede in the UK, and they put up on their thing, it's like, we have to up the price of our merch because basically they're
There's
taking a cut.
5%, a fiver on
Yeah,
it per.
exactly. So it's kind of like, buy our merch online. Don't buy it
Yeah,
here.
well, that's what I mean. Trying to say, look, come and fit the T-shirt, but here's PayPal address. Buy it here. Come over to me.
Yeah, yeah.
If you like the man, go over to your man in the corner over there.
Yeah.
He'll sort you out with the cheap shirts, you know.
Or you know those lads outside the venues who go, buy it for a tenner or
Yeah,
whatever. But it'd be like that, but with the actual band
yeah,
itself.
yeah. Official T-shirts. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come over here. Yeah,
Like you're the bassist.
yeah. That's okay. I'm doing nothing else, you know.
Yeah. So that's the future of rock and roll.
But
Bands
it's
outside selling their
everybody.
own
But
merch.
you know, as if someone told me about his farming and whatever, my farming background and things like that, and someone before or after you has to lose money for you to make money, you know. So it's the same as the t-shirt guy in China sells it for not half nothing. He's not making a whole pile, and everyone has to make their 100. Even selling stuff, any that are in shops, like it's why is it so dear? Because everyone has to put 100% onto it, so it has to nearly start at a penny before you can sell it reasonable, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
I was looking at keeping t-shirts in stock or whatever it was, and just started doing it on demand through on trying to keep it under 20 quid for a t-shirt. Like, and the only way was through Amazon on demand rather than keeping a stock in them, because by the time you post it out and everything, you're still ripping people off. It was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'd make a t-shirt for 15 quid, which had to stick 6 quid and send it to the States. And sure, none of us made any money, but they got the t-shirt, you know, and it still felt dear, you know. So
Yeah.
you can go into Dunn's and buy in their van a t-shirt now for quid or whatever it is, you know. So.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I just want to talk about the album again. So it's I Empower. I want to make sure I plug it. The Sword EP is out now on streaming platforms, and kind of the five available the five available songs for free on the album. It's basically the Sword EP plus plus the new single. Sorry,
Opinion at the moment, yeah,
Opinion.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't write down Opinion.
That's all right.
Yeah, and Opinion, actually, let's talk about that just for a brief second. I'd love to kind of pick about it. So yeah, so the perspective is about kind of people on the left and the right, and I think it's an interesting perspective. Now we see a lot of contention, I think, in the kind of modern world based on um I think it's based on people feeling like they're not being heard. I feel like a lot of people feel whether it's accurate or not, that their opinion is invalidated, or their opinion is sort of not allowed to be expressed or something like that. I was wondering, what was the kind of impetus for Opinion, and kind of like if you could just expand on what the song is about in general.
Yeah, it's definitely on the, especially with the states election coming up now, Biden on the left and the right, or whatever they're or
Mm-hmm.
allegedly, or in our own elections coming up and things like that, and the rate is it anti-immigrant, or is it just protecting yourselves? But it is okay. It has all that, and everyone has their opinion,
Right.
and that's the idea. You have an opinion, but are you willing to listen to the other? Because we all end up in bubbles. This is the problem with if with the analytics of TikTok or Facebook or any of those things, or Instagram, and you watch one, right? Okay, I watch one racist lad spouting on. The next thing you get freaking 10 more of them,
Yeah.
and next thing suddenly, oh no, this guy is making sense. This lad's making sense. This lad's making sense. And then so, is it my opinion to start with already? So the one thing is I have my opinions, and I agree with. But I can be turned on a lot of stuff, and people are either brainwashed with other people's opinions because of the analytics, or I'm just dead set. I'm not going to listen to anyone else's opinion, and I believe in you need. Why do the others have this opinion? Right? Why do they hate? Why are they racist? Why are they this, that, and the other? Right? You need to balance out your opinion. I'm not. I don't care who you are. I don't give a damn who you are. It doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not hurting me or hurting anyone else, you're fine. But why do other people hate others? And I have to listen to them to say, okay, yeah, I don't, yeah, but that's a fear of, and a lot of the time is, oh, they're going to take our jobs. You don't have a fucking job, you bollocks. Yeah, these people, and other people are going to give out about other people, and it doesn't have to be racism or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Politics and the left. Why do you hate? Okay, Sinn Féin, old politics, old, like we're still in Ireland dealing with civil war politics. Like
Yeah,
Fine
yeah,
Gael, Fianna Fáil, Michael Collins a long time dead now, the poor old devil, like,
yeah, yeah,
and Sinn Féin, the war. Yeah, I sometimes people can't forgive it or whatever it is. But to a
Mhm.
20, 30-year-old, what does the Good Friday Agreement mean? What does Fianna Fáil, Fianna Gael actually mean to them? And these are the voters. Is it because your father and mother voted for them? Listen to the other side and say, I don't know. Because it's not working as it is anyway.
yeah,
And my opinion in the world, people are giving out about the 50 billion to Ukraine for the war, 50 paying someone and spending so much on refugees. Fine. Ireland has, we're not refugees, but we have immigrants going to Australia daily.
Mhm.
Not that some of them will go, but some of them are going because they have to.
yeah,
I bet you the majority of Africans, say a million, say there's a million Africans coming to Europe. I don't know how many it is. I'd say 800,000 would much prefer to stay in Africa if there was a job and a family for them and everything there. So why don't we put that 50 billion into Tanzania, into
yeah.
Congo, into not to tell them how to run their country, but to
The
say, here's your
infrastructure.
job,
Yeah,
here's your water, here, you can be a
yeah,
farmer here, you can this and that. They don't want to leave their families and come over to us and be hated. Why would they?
yeah, yeah,
So we need to spend money better and keep them not and make their life happy there. Maybe we should be wanting to go there. You
yeah. It's
know,
it's
why are they
it's
leaving?
it's yeah. It's a really weird time I think we're in for a lot of this because like I've seen like what's really disheartening for me is seeing because it's funny because on the one hand like it seems like people are in unanimous support for like say the Palestinian people not being killed obviously but then simultaneously are also some people obviously not everyone some people are okay with like burning down buildings where like maybe migrants
Possibly,
might be staying possibly and it's like it's just weird like it's just this very weird perspective where it's like it's hard to tell where people are and there's a lot of condemnation obviously and there's a lot of and I just feel like we're in a really I guess you could say it's about any time in history, but we're having a very tumultuous time. And it always feels like that. I mean, I think when you actually look back and you listen to people, one thing I notice is the expression these unprecedented times can be applied to any point in history. The times we're living in, like these kind of like sentiments that we hear a lot nowadays, I think are applicable to any point in human history. It's a very weird circumstance, but I think like sometimes it can get better. And the thing that I always refer to is when I was growing up and keep in mind I was growing up in like Celtic Tiger Ireland, affluent Ireland, everyone had a job, everyone worked for Extravision back in 2004 or whatever. But when I was growing up, there was huge like anti-Polish sentiment I remember, and then everyone got like a Polish workmate or a Polish classmate or a Polish neighbor or whatever, and everyone just kind of like integrated with Poles, and like that just kind of disappeared. You don't really hear. I'm not saying there aren't people out there, but like to the extent that I heard growing up, like there is no like anti-Polish sentiment to that extent. Yeah, so I don't know like what the solution is. I always think integration is always kind of the best solution, in my personal opinion. But I understand that that's not a feasible possibility for everyone, you know?
Look at you, look ghettos maybe everywhere and things like that. There's some, yeah, integration is the only way. But
Mm.
I suppose you don't want to be over overwhelmed with it either, So this is what it feels like. But no more than you're talking about our times back in the day, the Normans became more Irish than the Irish themselves. So,
Mm.
and so, yeah. But that's what's happening. But what is the root of it? The root
Mm.
of it is because there's not enough jobs in the Congo and Ivory. But you look at the African national or the African nations championships, like the Ivory Coast, and the stadiums were full and people were enjoying themselves. How did they get? There's wealthy people in the Congo, wealthy people in South Africa, and all the other different parts that came over and went to the African Nations Championships. So you're not starting from zero. It's to give. We have our own poor, yes. They have their poor. They're worse off poor. But can we bring them up? There should be we have a minimum wage. There should be a format of bringing everyone, because all high tides rise all ships. We need to, if we want to give out about it all we can here, we can. We want to change their circumstances. They're going to still have to come. What else did the Irish do back through the ages? Sure, Brendan the Navigator, I'm sure, flicked off Ireland saying, Jesus, Clonford is awful shit, but I'm going to go off on my boat and see, can I do a little bit better here in the 1200s or 800s or 400s, whatever. So no better. The Irish are on this island because, why are we? We're Celts. We're from Central Europe. Galway girl that we sing about and say is so wonderful is actually from Spain and Portugal with the brown eyes and the rest. So Ireland's an amalgamation. The Brits, as much as others, they're Scots, they're Welsh, they're Irish, they're Celts, they're Normans, they're Romans. Yeah. So, and no more than Israel and Palestine and Egypt and Jordan, Syria. That was the crossroads and market of the world. What has changed when we've robbed them of their assets, have we? Or has China taken over the world? So, anyway, I'm not going to solve it. It doesn't matter me raving on about it. But unless you solve the root of the problem, you're solving nothing. And we're all going to have to fight and worry about it. And they're looking at all these types of sure. Yeah.
It's
no proper answer on it. It's the 1% will solve the 99% problem, and the 1% don't give a damn about the 99%.
I do worry sometimes, if I'm being honest, that this course is kind of dying, and I sometimes do worry if we're getting to a point. I don't mean to be alarmist or anything. It's a weird note to end on, but like I do kind of worry about that. Like if we are getting to a point where
it's all about the extremists. If
we're going to get so divided, you know what I mean?
The silent majority, and they get forgotten, and you and me and the majority. It's called the majority because we're in the middle and afraid of our fucking lives. We were in Galway yesterday and good fun, but there was 2 apes absolutely ruining everyone else's bit of fun in the area that we were in an arcade or whatever it was, kid. And there was 2 apes, but no one would tell them to stop. No one would, you couldn't, because you wouldn't know whether they put a knife out on you and do you. But 2 were ruining it for everyone. So it was the extremists were getting away with it again, and the guards, the security should have came, but the 2 young lads were only poor young lads that have a job, and so what did they do? So and until the same with Northern Ireland, until they stopped the roaring on both sides, the extremists, the guns stopped. That the silent majority, and look at it, it'll improve. It takes generations to kick it out. But we need to learn as well that the majority deserves their opinion heard.
Perfect. Thanks very much for your time, Paul. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up? Or
thank you very much, dear. I love what you're doing there. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's great. And how you get the time to do everything is amazing than ourselves. Thank you very much indeed for having us. And look, at pMad is out there. If anyone, make sure to click onto. I'll be sharing it around the place and bits and pieces as well. And hopefully, someone found we're not too disinteresting.
Thanks very much for your time, Paul.
Thank you very much indeed, Aaron.
Enjoy the rest of your day too.
And yourself. Birthday party.
Best luck.
Good luck. Bye. Ciao.
Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. If you liked it, please subscribe and stick around because we have plenty more like this coming soon.